Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is spellbound and early childhood education. And we're fortunate to have with us the author of Spellbound, Miss MWilliams, who is an author in Nashville, Tennessee, who will not only talk about Spellbound, but she will give us some information relative to early childhood education, having been involved in early childhood education for many years in her own career. And of course, Ms. Williams, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you.
And to tell you how delighted, Ms. Williams, we are to have you with us this morning. We know that you're involved in a large number of organizations and societies and et cetera,
Right.
and that you've been involved, and now we know that you are an author. You come to us as an author of a very, very exciting book.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I'm told that this is a book not written about children, but it's a book for adults, and I can
Right.
certainly appreciate that. Let's give you an opportunity, first of all, Ms. Williams, before we get into the book in early childhood education, to talk about Ms. MWilliams. To give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were eventually important in leading you to the decision that you ought to write a book.
Okay. Well, I come from Lebanon, Tennessee. I was born in Lebanon, Tennessee. I come from a family of 9 children, and I am the 6th child. I had twins under me, and then I had a baby sister that came about 12 years later. One thing I'd like to say that's unique about my family, all the girls are left-handed and all the boys are right-handed. My mother's left-handed, my father right-handed. That's kind of unique.
It is.
I finished school from Wilson County High School, and I started really acting when I was in about the 5th grade. We used to do a lot of dramatic readings and going around pantomime, and I was just a natural-born actress. So, you know, everybody was always calling on me to do something, a lot of comedy acts. And then I finished high school there and went to Tennessee State. And I majored in speech and drama. And of course, a major in speech and drama, you know, you participated in a lot of plays and many other activities relating to drama. And when I graduated from Tennessee State, I started teaching, of course. And I started teaching in Memphis, Tennessee, and did 1 year. But because we had to go early in the summer, and that they had to stay out of school for a little while to do something.
Split session. Was that split session?
I think so. Yeah, split session. We had to do the split session. So I taught seniors in high school there, 1 year, English and French and so forth. Then I came back to, moved back to Nashville. My husband and I were married then. Moved back to Nashville, and we had 2 girls. And we have 2 girls now. And then I started teaching in a religious school at Nashville Christian Institute, taught there for 5 years, and then started with Metro. Started teaching 6th graders, and I went back to TSU, and I became certified in elementary education. So that's how I moved into elementary education. So the whole time that I have been teaching, I've always been a storyteller. So I've always been able to motivate my children to learn through storytelling. Even though it was told in all the courses that this was useful, I was using it anyway. This was a part of me. So I have been able to, after working with 6th graders, and I came to Aiken and teaching 2nd graders, and I was a reading specialist for a while. I worked with the children in the inner city. And all of this that I did with the kids, I was able to get the information over. It didn't matter the background. It didn't matter the amount of money that the parents had. It didn't matter whether they were on welfare or what. They could all get the same information.
Methods.
Right, the same method, and they would, it may take one child a little bit longer, but that child would finally get it, and they were motivated. And they could remember it through storytelling. So, and I would sometimes shock myself because I could read a story and the whole class would just, you know,
Just in awe,
spellbound.
spellbound.
You know, and I
that's
could,
good.
So I said, these kids, and I asked a psychologist, and she said, there's something about your voice. She said, something about your voice that you just kind of mesmerize these kids.
Okay.
And I said, well, maybe it is. Even the child the teachers had complained about that were acting up in their room, they would come in my room, they just, you know, and then I would ask the questions all about Thomas Alva Edison. They would remember all 3 names. And that, you know, they know if I said his middle name was Alva, then they knew, they remembered that because I used a little drama to get it over to them. So I decided that later on after I retired, and I taught there for a number of years and used this particular activity to get over to kids. If I was teaching verbs, social studies, it didn't matter. I would use the same thing.
That was a method that you used.
It was a method that I used. And then I started writing years ago, but I decided to use this method to write a book, and figured that if I started out with the high interest level and low level reading in order to reach all the kids. So I'm married and I have 2 children, Desiree and Angela, and I have 2 grandchildren, Amber and Alicia. My husband is Robert Williams.
Okay.
And he's my illustrator in the book.
Very good. Okay,
right.
we noticed that. Very good.
Right. So most of my family are educators, teachers. So they teach around here in Metro. I have one daughter that's teaching and another daughter that's more or less doing some counseling sessions. So we're kind of a family of educators. And so we all kind of work together. I have 2 ports. We have a family group that's called the Writers Group.
Very good.
So I'm a writer of stories and poetry. My daughter Desiree and Alicia, my granddaughter, poets also. And they have poetry online. And then Amber and Angela and my husband are the illustrators. And their work you'll see in the book Spellbound. All of my drawings are more or less were done by my husband.
Very good. You know, one thing I think, Ms. Williams, during this last 3 minutes that we have here of this particular segment, one thing that we find today that there's some controversy in reference to early childhood education. And I think that with your teaching experiences and whatnot, you ought to be able to at least shed some light in reference to this, because many folks do not believe the value of exposing 3- and 4-year-old children to the educational process. But I think that it has been demonstrated that, well, let's talk about some of the information that you have in reference.
Right. Well, there's nothing I could say that would more or less deviate anyone's attention from starting children early.
Very good.
Because number one, I have experienced children. I've had the experiences of working with children that did not have early childhood education. And that's one reason with the test, the kids falling down on the test, because they don't know how to take a test. You know, they haven't been around other kids. They haven't seen, it doesn't matter how the parent at home and the children at home, they're still not going to get the same learning that they would get with a group of children. I have observed the children in daycare, even in daycare, you know, how they seem to respond to standing in a line and raising their little hands up and sitting down short periods of a time. Okay, now when you start taking that away, then you're going to take away not only from the inner city kids, but you're really going to take away from all the children, because the parents who are able to have a nanny in the home, I mean, just that child and that nanny, that child is not going to get the experiences that that child would receive with other children with that group. You see, learning is you have a cognitive affect and the affective domain that you're trying to reach when you teach. So the affective domain is getting along with other children, playing together, sharing how you feel about yourself. You know, if you don't have anyone there at home and no one to deal with it, then you think that you're supposed to have it all the time. But when you're around other children, it's a different type of thing. So when you move into the classroom, I am 100% for teaching children in kindergarten. You see, I have always been against, you always have some kids in there that are ready to read. You have some children that are ready to read. When you see a child take a paper like this and point, and they're trying to read, or take an encyclopedia, that child's ready to read. So there's nothing wrong with teaching a consonant, a short vowel, put the two together, put the consonant at the end, and you have a word.
Okay, and let us, Ms. Williams, take this first commercial break, after which we'll come back and give you an opportunity to continue that.
Okay,
We'll be back with our audience following this very, very short. The topic is spell